You know, people talk a lot about the future, what it might look like, where we're headed, what kind of world we'll leave behind. Most times it can feel overwhelming, like it's out of our hands. But there's something quietly powerful about realizing that the future isn't just some distant thing waiting for us. It's being shaped right now, every single day. And when you look at solar energy, really look at it, you start to see just how bright the future could be. Solar energy isn't just about shiny panels on rooftops or desert farms full of mirrors. It's about a shift in thinking, a shift in how we see energy, how we use it, how we value the world around us. For so long, we've relied on things that dig deep into the earth: oil, gas, coal, stuff that took millions of years to form. And we've used it like it would never run out. But the truth is, it does run out. It pollutes, it damages. And deep down, we've always known without it, that can't last forever. That's where the sun comes in. Think about it. It's always been there. Rising every morning, setting every night. No bills, emissions, no damage, just raw, natural energy. Quiet, constant, reliable. That's what makes solar so special. It's not about inventing something completely new. It's about finally learning how to work with what we've always had. Instead of fighting nature, we're finally starting to listen to it, to respect it. Imagine a world where every home could power itself, where a family living in a remote village doesn't need to rely on diesel or darkness, just the sky above them, where cities shine at night, not because they're draining the grid, but because they're feeding off their own rooftops. That's not science fiction. That's happening right now across the world, from the biggest cities to the quietest corners of the planet. Solar isn't just a tech thing or an environmental thing. It's a human thing. It's about making life simpler, cleaner, more secure. It's about giving power, literally and figuratively, to the people, to communities who've never had access to steady electricity, to families who want to save on bills, to generations who deserve a planet that's still alive and breathing. And the best part, it's getting better every day. What used to be expensive is becoming affordable. What used to be rare is becoming normal. The technology is improving. The batteries are lasting longer. The systems are getting smarter. The dream is becoming reality. When we talk about the future being bright, we're not just talking about hope. We're talking about action, about decisions being made today that will echo for decades. We're talking about young people growing in a world where clean energy isn't an ambition. It's just the way things are. It's not just about the environment, it's about health, about air you can breathe, about water that isn't poison. It's about security, because countries that generate their own power don't have to fight over the dirty kind. It's about jobs too. Thousands of them. In building, installing, maintaining, innovating. There's something genuinely beautiful about that. A kind of quiet confidence in knowing we're finally stepping in the right direction. That we don't have to choose between comfort and conscience anymore, because for the first time in a long time, the thing that's best for the planet is also best for us. There was a time when the idea of powering the world with sunlight sounded more like a science fiction story than a serious plan. People would smile politely, nod along, but deep down, they didn't really believe it. Not because they were against the idea, but because it just seemed too big, too ambitious, too far away. But that's the thing about vision. It always starts as something just out of reach. You see, big changes never look possible at the start. They look risky, messy, expensive. People always ask the same questions. What if it doesn't work? What if it's too late? What if it's just a dream? But dreams are where reality begins. Someone, somewhere, has to be bold enough to imagine something better before the rest of the world can catch up. That's how every real shift starts, not with perfect plans, but with belief, with imagination, and with people willing to try, even if they fail along the way. When solar energy was first introduced as a solution, it was slow. It was costly. You couldn't just go and buy a panel for your roof. You couldn't store energy in a battery. The technology wasn't there. The support wasn't there. But the vision was, and some people didn't walk away from that vision. They leaned into it. Engineers, scientists, dreamers, they kept pushing, kept learning, kept asking, what if we could design panels that are lighter, cheaper, more efficient? What if we could store sunlight in batteries that power homes overnight? What if we could build entire factories powered by nothing but the sun? These weren't easy questions, but they were the right ones. And over time, slowly, things began to change. Bit by bit, that vision started to move closer to reality. Panels got smarter. Batteries got stronger. Solar farms popped up in places that used to rely completely on fossil fuels. Every day, people started installing panels, not to make a statement, but because it made sense, because it worked. Now, we've reached a point where solar isn't just a dream for the wealthy or the tech savvy. It's becoming part of everyday life. You can see it on homes in quiet neighborhoods, on schools, on hospitals, even on vehicles. What was once called the energy of the future is becoming the energy of today. The beauty of it is, it didn't happen through magic. It happened through hard work, through setbacks, through trying again and again until things finally clicked. Every step we've taken, from the first prototype to the solar rooftops on homes around the world, it all came from the same place. a belief that something better was possible, a refusal to let that belief fade when things got difficult. It's easy to look back now and say, of course it was going to work, but because we're standing on the other side of years and years of trial and error. Back then, there were no guarantees. There were just people with a vision and the grit to turn it into something real. That's what makes solar energy so powerful. It's not just about the technology. It's about the journey, about taking something that once lived in the imagination and turning it into something you can see, touch, and rely on. Something that's changing lives. Not one day, not someday, but right now. For over a century, fossil fuels have powered nearly everything we touch. Our homes, our transport, our factories, our lights. It became so normal that we stopped questioning it. Pipes under the ground, tanks full of diesel, towers pouring smoke into the sky. That was the price of progress, or so we were told. But if we're being honest with ourselves, it never really felt right, did it? Every time we filled up a car, every time a smokestack rose into the sky, every time we saw black clouds hanging over cities, we knew, deep down, we knew this wasn't the way forward. It was the way we started, not the way we were meant to continue. Fossil fuels gave us speed, access, growth, sure. But they also came with consequences. Air that's harder to breathe, waters that aren't safe to drink, weather that doesn't follow the rules anymore, and countries, entire nations, locked into systems they didn't ask for, depending on resources they don't have, trapped in deals that limit their future. That's not freedom. That's dependence disguised as progress. And that's exactly why solar energy matters, because solar offers something fossil fuels never could, independence. Not just for countries or corporations, but for regular people. The kind of freedom where you don't have to rely on the grid, where your roof becomes your source, where power doesn't come from somewhere far away, it comes from above you, from nature, clean and endless. It's strange when you think about it. We've built entire systems around fuels we have to dig for, ship, and burn. But the sun, it shows up every day for free. No drilling, no damage, no pollution. It's not about guilt. It's not about shame. We did what we knew. We built our world using what we had. But now we have something better. And it's not just about swapping one energy source for another. It's about breaking free from the mindset that destruction is necessary for progress. That harming the planet is just the cost of living. That we don't have a choice, because we do. That choice gives us more than clean energy. It gives us resilience. Solar energy isn't just renewable, it's reliable. It keeps working even when systems go down, even when fuel prices rise, even when the world is in chaos. It puts power back in the hands of people Communities who once lived in darkness now light up with dignity. Homes once dependent on unstable grids now stand strong in storms. Villages that never had power at all now run classrooms, clinics, clean water pumps, just from sunlight. It's easy to forget what that kind of change means if you've never lived without it. But for millions, maybe billions, breaking free from fossil fuels isn't just an environmental mental goal. It's a chance at life, at opportunity, at stability. And the truth is, fossil fuels are running out. That's not fear, it's fact. They were always going to, because they weren't meant to last forever. They were a bridge. And now we're crossing it. But bridges aren't places to stay. They're how we get from one side to the other. And now we're stepping onto solid ground, a world where we no longer have to burn the past to power the present. It always starts with belief, not numbers, not charts, not models or projections, just belief. That quiet, stubborn feeling that something better is possible, even if the rest of the world isn't quite there yet. And belief doesn't always look like fireworks or speeches or big headlines. Sometimes it's just a conversation at a kitchen table, a sketch on a napkin, a kid staring at the sky, wondering why we aren't using all that sunlight. That's where change really begins, with someone daring to believe that the world we know isn't the only version of the world that can exist. Solar energy wasn't born out of certainty. It was born out of curiosity, out of frustration, out of a simple but powerful idea. What if we could do this differently? It's funny how often that kind of belief gets dismissed. Too idealistic, too ambitious, too unrealistic. But that's the nature of belief. It doesn't wait for permission. It doesn't ask if the timing is right. It just shows up quietly. And it refuses to leave. When people first started in exploring solar energy seriously, it wasn't because the technology was ready. It was because their belief was, they believed the sun, the most constant force in our lives, could be more than just warmth and light. They believed that a future built on sunlight wasn't just a dream, it was something worth building toward, even when it meant taking risks, even when the return wasn't guaranteed. They believed when it was hard, when it was slow, when everyone else was focused on oil stocks and coal mines, they kept going, because belief, real belief, isn't loud, it's consistent. It shows up when no one's watching, when no one's clapping, and that kind of belief is contagious. It spreads from one engineer to another, from one conversation to a movement, from one household choosing solar panels to an entire neighborhood rethinking energy. And suddenly, you're not the only one anymore. That's the real power of belief. It builds momentum. It opens doors that didn't even exist before. It creates the kind of progress that data alone can't explain. And belief doesn't always come from experts or leaders. Sometimes it comes from people who have the most to gain from change, the communities who've been left in the dark, the families who can't afford rising fuel costs, desalination, and the young people who will inherit the consequences of decisions made long before they were born. They believe because they have to, because not believing would mean accepting things the way they are. And deep down, we all know we can do better than that. Solar energy has come this far not just because it's smart or efficient or clean, or though it is all those things. It's come this far because people believed in it before it was popular, before it was profitable, before it was proven. And even now, belief is what keeps pushing it forward, because there are still challenges, there are still skeptics, there are still systems built on the old way of doing things. But belief doesn't stop when things get hard. If anything, that's when it matters most. When you believe in something deeply, you carry it through the doubt, through the delays, through the days when it would be easier to quit. Belief that becomes a kind of fuel all its own. It's easy to get caught up in the shine of new technology. The latest devices, the sleek designs, the futuristic ideas that make headlines. But real progress, the kind that lasts, the kind that matters, it's never just about what we build. It's about why we build it. That's the difference between innovation for the sake of attention and technology with purpose. And that's what solar energy represents. It's not just a clever invention or a trendy green idea. It's a response to a question we've been asking for generations. How do we live better without leaving the world worse? Technology is meant to make life easier, to give us more time, more freedom, more comfort. But for too long, the way we've powered that comfort has come at a cost. Rising emissions, rising temperatures, rising consequences, and in the middle of all that, solar quietly steps in, not demanding anything, not pushing anyone, just offering a better way. It takes something simple, the sun, and turns it into something powerful: energy, light, stability. And it does it without damaging the world around us. Explosions, no drilling, no waste left behind. That's what technology with purpose looks like. It solves problems without creating new ones. It doesn't just move fast, it moves forward. When solar energy first started gaining traction, it wasn't because it was perfect. It wasn't the most efficient. It wasn't the cheapest, but it had intention. It had direction, and that made all the difference. It wasn't about building something flashy. It was about building something useful, something that could give power to a rural village where no wires had ever reached, something that could lower families' electricity bill, something that could light up a classroom, run a refrigerator, charge a hospital's equipment during an outage. These aren't just on a spreadsheet. They're moments, their lives made easier, safer, more dignified because of solar. That's the kind of technology that matters. The kind that doesn't just sit in labs or labs in shower rooms. It's out there working every day, silently changing lives. And the best part, it keeps getting better. Every year, solar panels become more efficient. They last longer. They cost less. Of just progress. That's not just progress for the sake of progress. That's evolution with a mission. It's about asking the right questions. How do we create energy that respects the planet? How do we design systems that serve people, not just profit? How do we build technology that brings power to more than just machines, but to people? Solar doesn't need to shout. It doesn't need to dominate headlines. It just needs to work consistently, cleanly, quietly. And when it does, it reminds us what innovation is really about. Not control, not complexity, but clarity, simplicity, purpose. In a world full of distractions, that kind of focus is rare. We're surrounded by things that are fast and loud, but not always meaningful. Solar brings us back to what matters, the basics, the essentials: light, warmth, power, and not just for the privileged few, but for anyone with access to the sky. That's the beauty of it. It doesn't discriminate. It doesn't run out. It doesn't ask who you are or where you're from. All it needs is the right technology and the right intention at some point. We all think about we're leaving behind just not just the possessions or the achievements, but something deeper. The kind of legacy that lives on in the background of people's lives, in the air they breathe, the water they drink, the ground they walk on. That's the thing about energy. It's invisible, but its impact isn't. We don't always see it, but it's there in the environment, the climate, in the quiet changes happening all around us. And that's why the decisions we make about energy aren't just technical. They're generational, because every light switch, every plugged-in device, every warm home, that power has to come from somewhere. And for a long time, we've accepted that it comes with a cost. Smoke in the sky, oceans rising inch by inch, forests disappearing, heat waves stretching longer, storms becoming stronger, and children up and growing in a world that feels a little more fragile than it should. That's not the legacy any of us want. Not really. Because deep down, we know we're capable of more. Capable of building without breaking, of moving forward without looking back with regret. And that's where solar energy begins to shine, not just as a source of power, but as a symbol of responsibility. It's not about guilt. It's about awareness. It's about standing in the present and realizing, and we hold a kind of power that past generations never had. The power to choose differently, to live well and leave things better than we found them. Every solar panel on a rooftop is more than a tool. It's a decision saying, I believe the future deserves more than what we've done in the past. It's a small act that adds up over time. One less fossil fuel burned. One more moment powered by something clean, silent, and sustainable. And the beauty of solar is that it asks for so little in return. No drilling, no digging, just sunlight, a resource so vast and constant that it feels almost poetic, that something so powerful could also be so gentle. So generous. Legacy isn't about grand gestures. It's built in quiet choices, in consistency, in doing the right thing, even when it's not the easiest. And when we talk about solar energy, we're talking about one of the clearest examples of that. A technology that doesn't just serve us now, but set something in motion for later, for our children, for their children, for people we'll never meet, living in places we'll never go. Imagine them growing up in cities where the air is clean, where the skies are clear, where energy doesn't come with the sound of engines and smokestacks, but with the silence of the sun, where power isn't something that pollutes, but something that preserves. That's the kind of world we all want to believe in, and that belief doesn't start with laws or speeches. It starts with action, with the people doing what they can, installing panels, investing in clean tech, talking to their neighbors, showing their kids that there's another way, because the legacy we leave doesn't start tomorrow. It starts now with what we choose to support, what we choose to build, and what we choose to protect. And if we do it right, they'll never have to ask what it cost us to live well. Because the air will be clean, the land will be healthy, and the sun will still be rising every morning, powering a world we were proud to pass on. Every big change begins as an idea, not a perfect one, not even a fully formed one, just a spark. A quiet thought that says, what if we could do different? We could do things differently. That's how solar energy began, not with billion-dollar backing or global support, but with a handful of people willing to ask a different question, willing to look at the sun, not as just a source of warmth or light, but as a solution, as the answer to a problem no one knew how to solve at the time. And in the beginning, it was slow. There were doubts. Panels were bulky, expensive. The output was small. The critics were loud, and the world didn't quite believe yet. But that's the nature of every breakthrough. It always looks like a failure at first. Still, the idea didn't fade, because some people didn't need permission to believe. They saw the long game. They saw beyond the limitations of the moment. They kept working, refining, testing, improving. And over time, that quiet idea started gaining momentum. Not because it got louder, but because it got better, more efficient, more accessible, more undeniable. What started as a concept became a prototype. What started as a prototype became a product, and what started as a product became a movement. That's the path of real innovation, not just from lab mub to market, but from idea impact. And solar is the proof. You can see that impact now everywhere, on rooftops in cities, on school buildings in rural villages, in emergency relief camps, in neighborhoods that used to go dark every time the grid failed. Now, those same homes stay lit because someone years ago believed in a different kind of energy. That's the beauty of it. It wasn't one giant leap. It was millions of small, steady steps. Engineers working late into the night, families making the choice to invest in panels, government adjusting policies, communities learning, adapting, leading. And it's still happening, still growing, still proving that a simple idea with enough heart and persistence can reshape the way the world lives. Because it's not just about the technology anymore. It's about what that technology enables, the jobs are created in the solar sector. Local businesses powering themselves independently. Children studying at night under lights powered by the sun. Hospitals running smoothly even during blackouts. Not because someone waved a magic wand, but because enough people stayed with the idea long enough for it to matter. From idea to impact is not a straight line. It's messy. It's frustrating. It requires patience most people don't talk about. You try, you adjust, you repeat, but then one day, what used to be a dream becomes normal. What used to be expensive becomes affordable. What used to be out of reach becomes everyday life. No. That's what we're seeing now. Solar isn't just for the few. It's for the many. And the more people who embrace it, the more powerful the impact becomes, because this is more than panels and batteries. This is about the human spirit, the ability to imagine something better and then build it, step by step, person by person, community by community. We don't always get to see the results of the seeds we plant, but every clean watt generated, every carbon ton avoided, every home lit by sunlight. That's impact. Real, measurable, meaningful, and it all started with an idea that seemed too small to change anything we talk about the future like it's some far off destination, like it's waiting for us down the road, 10 years away, maybe 20. But the truth is, the future isn't something we arrive. It's something we shape right here, right now. The world doesn't change in giant, dramatic moments. It changes in the quiet decisions we make every day. And when it comes to how we power our lives, those decisions carry more weight than ever. Solar energy used to feel like a promise, a new way of cleaner, calmer, more independent, more resilient. Think about what that means for families who don't have to worry about blackouts anymore, for countries that don't have to rely on imported oil, for kids who grow up learning that the sun doesn't just shine, it powers their homes, their schools, their dreams. That's not some distant, unreachable dream. That's happening right now. And sure, there's still more to do. There always will be. But that's the point. We don't wait for perfect conditions to move forward. We move forward and create the conditions for progress. Solar energy isn't waiting for us to catch up anymore. It's already leading the way, quietly, persistently, efficiently. One rooftop, one community, one sunrise at a time,